accelerator model is so wrong that I had to launch my own. I used to build different startups with no-code tools, and some of my products few years ago had some traction, some sales, and I knew that by joining an accelerator I could really fast forward my progress, get more sales, get bigger network, and get to meet so many other cool founders who would boost me forwards. However, those couple accelerators that I ended up joining, which I will not be mentioning in this video, were a very unfortunate experience. And in this video, I'd like to share some of the beliefs I think are so wrong with this accelerator model that I had no other option but to create something in this world that would solve those issues. And the first one is no one cares about you there. And you can go in circles about how to put it the best way, but this is what it is. You join, and apart from you, there are gonna be tens of other startups joining, and you never get one-on-one sessions with anyone. You never have guided support, and then you go through this program for a couple months just to then fight for attention of VCs. And this is so questionable. At least for me, it was back then. And when you are applying for the program and when you're collecting references, some people have this to say, some people have that, and then you just get to, okay, buy into this with your effort, with your sometimes investment, and then you join and you just understand that there is no even a person who is responsible for making sure that your experience there is fantastic, because as in some of the universities, as in majority of universities, you are just let alone to yourself to figure things out. And I just disliked it so much that you need to be creating the experience for yourself. And as much as I disliked it in the educational system, I equally disliked it in the accelerator system, that there is, for example, when you go to a nice hotel, they have a person who is taking care of you, who is responsible for making sure that your stay is fantastic. I don't know why there are not as many people who do the same thing in the startup world, and well, I'm doing so for that reason, making sure that each person has a dedicated success manager to ensure that their experience is top notch. Secondly, apart from no one caring about you, the next part is you need to fight for attention of VCs. And yeah, sure, there basically the way it happened in my case, there was a couple hot startups in the cohort who were just more courageous in tweaking their numbers and talking about fantastic market sizes and how they are Uber for this new sexy thing. And then they ended up having some VC attention, and then all the other 80% of startups need to just jump around and create and basically spend months creating some sexy deck to then show it at a demo day. Yeah, sure, it can get you a couple of meetings with investors, but as you are going there in a needy position of you clearly stating that please give me money, it really ends up being as something nice. And because you don't need to be a master of negotiations to understand that whenever you enter negotiation from a weaker position that you need it more than the other party, it's such a low chance that you're gonna get out of it on top, Another problem with most accelerators is that they charge equity before they even can illustrate you how much of value they are. And I really didn't like it. And that's why whenever there was an option, I paid out with the cash rather than with the equity. And I think it appeared to be, well, as I ended up shutting down those few startups. Not sure if this was the better part than the other, anyways. But asking someone for equity when you just barely know each other, and because you understand that getting equity in someone's business is like marriage, and you understand that it's a red flag when you meet someone for the first date and they're talking about kids and how you gonna marry them. That's weird to me. However, that's how the majority of accelerators run, that they get the equity and they end up focusing on creating a bubble about your valuation rather than helping you hit the financial metrics that you indeed need to be focusing on for you to get to your next round of funding. And as what they are doing is just helping you get in Forbes or get some PR exposure and stuff around that, yes, sure, if you want to exit in a short period of time, maybe it will do some good for you because then you'll create a sexy badge saying, oh, we've been featured here and there. But the real investors are gonna see through that and be, well, yeah, sure, there is a case with Theranos and WeWork, which we understand, but the people who you want to be collaborating with usually would be looking a couple levels deeper than that, and that they would know that basically the quote for you to be featured in Forbes is just an extra, what, 10, 15 grand that you had to put into this. And this issue of accelerators caring more about the funding bubble because their business model is based around that puts founders in a very bad spot that you need to be always talking the most about your startup and trying to make it appear as the hottest thing on the street instead of you figuring out the situation with the pipeline and creating a successful, thriving business out of it. As most accelerators are not specialized in one single thing, they give you some support with everything at once, like some finance, some management, some sales, some marketing. And the issue from that is when you're a jack of all trades, you are the master of none. For that reason, what I decided to do with SaaS Camp is to be focusing on one single thing, is how B2B SaaS startups can be getting more demos, and then as a additional problem that arises from that, how they can actually be increasing their close rate and making the most use of all these demos. And these are the primary things which I'm helping startup founders with. When I entered an accelerator and there were some high level speeches about once in a couple months that, oh, this person who's got this exit is going to tell you how, for example, to do finance more properly. I mean, yeah, sure, but as the whole program is tailored to be about everything, you exited and you completed, and you don't have a feeling that, oh, I learned something specific and now I can make a better use of it and can make tangible optimizations in my startup. At least how it was on my end is like giving away money, or for some startups it's equity, just for a couple talks, you meeting few founders who you could have met just from LinkedIn as a doing networking, and you being positioned as another 20th or 30th guy who is desperate to raise this VC funding. I mean, they don't tell it to VC straight away like this, but if there are startups performing on stage and VCs sitting and judging who is worth their attention, and not the other way around, you get how the power is distributed among this negotiation then. And another issue with accelerators is those who do charge the cash instead of equity, they are not performance based. The reason I typically not collaborate for equity with people I have only met for half hour is because how can I basically marry someone who I barely know? They don't know the dynamic in which I prefer to work in, and I don't know if they are a committed founder investing their effort, or they treat it like a part-time project and they are working on 10 more ventures outside of that. I made one investment into a startup that's originally from Italy and now HQ'd in UK, and they are operating in sports industry. And then I met the founder for many times before we ever got to a stage where we decided to deepen our relationship even further by me investing in the business and getting some equity in it. While for many accelerators, they're like, oh, you launched a business before, or are you full-time on this? Yes, okay, cool. And collaborating in such a way and them then making their business model out of running tens of startups through the program, if not hundreds, and then waiting for making ROI when one of them becomes lucky, well, the unfortunate scenario is high chance this one lucky startup out of 100 might not be you with 99% chance. And the sad part here is that you are joining there and giving the equity for you to be building a successful business out of it, while they are building the business out of the luck factor. And sure, the death rate for successful accelerators is much better or lower than in startups overall. However, still, you have one business in a good scenario. You don't have 10 or 20, and that's why you need to make this one work. And for that reason, we introduced the performance-based structure to SaaS Camp, where we practically get 60% of our fee only after the startup adds $250,000 in annual revenue. And this makes us way more committed to get them this result, because, well, we get more than half of our money only once we're there. And in case they complete everything from the program and don't add this $250,000 in annual revenue, then we would also refund the initial 40% that they paid out to us, making it as easy as possible for people to get to experience the value and tangible, or I would say numeric, benefits from collaborating with me. And I believe that this is more fair. I understand that there are many accelerators in this world and there are many options how one founder can grow their startup. However, joining typical accelerators for me was so unfortunate and was such a questionable experience that I knew this must not be like that, and for that reason I started changing it. Appreciate you watching this video and talk soon.